Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking through some player props I like on Prizepicks for today's NBA slate on Friday, May the 2nd. Now we only have one playoff game on Friday night. We got Game 6 of the Warriors and Rockets series. Warriors are up 3-2 at home, chance to close out the series. Rockets, on the other hand, trying to fight, stay alive, force a Game 7. We'll see how this game goes on Friday night, and I think on Saturday, I believe we also have just one game. Or actually, I think we might have two games Saturday. But we're going to have a lot of days, moving forward with only like one game, maybe two games. I think it's only one game Saturday, Game 7 of Nuggets Clippers. So, it's going to be tough these next few days, just only having like one game. But still going to try and give you guys some props I do like. We'll give out a prop from each side, so we'll talk about a prop on the Rocket side and then a prop on the Warriors side. So two plays for this game, and as always, guys, we're going to break down these two plays. We're going to share why I like them. Now, before we get started, make sure that you guys hit that like button down below. If you do enjoy these Prizepicks videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. And if you guys are new to the channel, if you are new to Prizepicks, if you don't have a Prizepicks account, be sure to sign up. Use promo code NOAH when you sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code and place your first $5 lineup. You're going to get $50 in promo funds instantly added to your account. So this is an easy way to start to build up your bankroll on Prizepicks. Make sure to use that code NOAH when you do sign up. And I do also want to give a quick shout out to Sleeper. We do have a partnership with Sleeper as well. And if you guys don't have an account over on Sleeper, you can sign up for Sleeper, use promo code NOAH, and you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100. And for those of you that don't know what Sleeper is, they're a DFS pick'em app. They're very similar to Prizepicks. You just pick more or less on player projections. You build out your lineup. You can make up to an 8-pick lineup on Sleeper. You can win up to 100x your money. And Sleeper does do a lot of promotions, a lot of discounts throughout the week. They're always giving out protected plays, payout boosts, multiplier boosts. Giving out discounts on props, on player projections. So definitely check them out, guys. Make sure to use that code NOAH when you do sign up for Sleeper, so that way you get your first deposit matched up to $100. But before we talk through our props, guys, for this one game on Friday night, I do want to recap our plays from Thursday's video before we go over today's plays. So Thursday was another frustrating day, man. We gave out two props Thursday, and we lost both props. The one prop we lost on Mitchell Robinson, felt like that was a read that I felt good about, but watching the game, Robinson, his minutes were just not really there. Now, he played like 9 minutes or 8 or 9 minutes in the first half, so he was pacing the play around like 18 minutes. But then in the second half, the Pistons started to intentionally foul him because they were down by like 10, and they were trying to make up ground. And Robinson is a terrible free throw shooter, so they were intentionally fouling him. He was missing his free throws, and that caused him to get pulled out of the game. Now, he did come back into the game later, but his minutes definitely got cut down a little bit because of that. Would he have gone over had that not happened? I mean, maybe. I think he had three rebounds in like 12 or 13 minutes played. But I felt good about him getting at least closer to that 20-minute mark, kind of like he did last game. They've been playing him a lot alongside Karl-Anthony Towns. He did get some minutes alongside Karl-Anthony Towns, but definitely didn't get as many minutes as I expected. Which obviously, when that's the case, when you're wrong on your reads, you're gonna miss your props, and it was gonna be hard for Robinson to get 6 rebounds when he only played 13 or 14 minutes. And then we took Nikola Jokic over 9.5 defensive rebounds. Jokic, of course, had one of his worst rebounding games of the whole series. Only had, I think, 8 rebounds. I think he had 7 defensive rebounds. Go figure. I'd take a rebounds prop on Jokic, and he doesn't even get double-digit boards. I guess that's just my luck right now. Been on the wrong side of pretty much every prop, it feels like, lately, but we're going to keep pushing through, guys. Got 2 plays for this game on Friday night. Hopefully we get a good game here, competitive game. Obviously, last game in this series was a just total disaster, a complete blowout. Hopefully that's not the case here. But let's talk through these props I like, and let's see if we can get back on track here and hit both these plays, guys. So we're going to talk about some fantasy score props that I do like for these two games, and we will give out some alternatives to fantasy score for those of you that aren't on Prizepicks, or if you're not able to take fantasy score props. But fantasy score is it's a prop market that I've been heavily into really ever since I started playing Prizepicks, because I originally started playing daily fantasy like 10 years ago. That's what I got into this industry doing, was playing daily fantasy sports. And daily fantasy sports is all about fantasy point projections. That's the whole makeup of the game. So I know a lot about fantasy point projections. I know what goes into making fantasy point projections. So the two projections that I'm looking at for this game, first one is going to be Jimmy Butler for more than 41 fantasy score. So Jimmy Butler, if we look at what he's done in this series, he's gone over this line in 2 out of 4 games. However, if you look at one of the games he went under, that was the game that he got injured like 7 minutes into the game. So really, it's hard to say that was even a game that he played in because he really didn't play in that game. And then last game obviously went under, but his minutes were way down last game because the Warriors got absolutely blown out. And even though they actually started to make a comeback and the Warriors actually kind of made the game somewhat competitive, Steve Kerr, he didn't put any of his guys back in. Like Jimmy Butler, Steph, Pods, like all those guys stayed on the bench even with the Warriors making a little bit of a comeback. So in the 2 games where he has played full minutes, we have seen Jimmy Butler go over this line. 56.4 fantasy score in game 1 and then 45 fantasy score, and I believe that was I think that was game 4. I do believe. So yeah, game 1, game 4, when he played full minutes, he went over this fantasy score line. And Jimmy Butler, since he joined the Warriors, he has been a good fantasy producer. He's averaging 1.16 fantasy points per minute since he joined the Warriors. And Butler throughout his career has typically been a guy that averages around 1.15 to 1.2 fantasy points per minute. He's a player that can do pretty much everything when he's on the floor. He can score, he can rebound, he can get assists. He also is good at getting defensive stats. He can get steals and blocks. Steals and blocks are huge for fantasy score because they do give you 3 points for each one of those. And Butler, I want to say it was game 1 of this series. I think he had 5 steals in game 1. If I do remember correctly, yeah, he had 5 steals in game 1. I mean, 5 steals, if you get that, that's huge because that's 15 points alone just from that. I'm obviously not expecting 5 steals, but if we can get a couple steals and maybe a block or 2, like that obviously adds up a ton for fantasy score. But if we expect this game to be competitive, which it should be, it's a 5.5 point spread, we're going to see Jimmy Butler play 40 minutes. I mean, he played 40 minutes in his first game back from injury. He only played 25 minutes last game, but he was, he got subbed out like halfway through the third quarter. I mean, he was pacing to play 40 minutes again last game had the game, not blown out. And if we're going to project Butler for 40 minutes, I mean, this is a guy that averages well over a fantasy point per minute. Also, I think there is a little bit, it's a little bit of a narrative here with Jimmy Butler. We always hear about playoff Jimmy. Jimmy Butler has definitely, in his career, kind of turned things up a little bit in the playoffs. Like if you look at his usage in the playoffs, if you look at his just production overall, his fantasy points per minute, all those numbers do go up in the postseason. If you look at his last few playoffs with the Heat, obviously it's a different team, but I mean his fantasy points per minute when he was on the Heat in the playoffs, he averaged 1.23, 1.34 fantasy points per minute. Like his production really spikes in the playoffs. It has historically. So far in this series, he's averaging 1.13 fantasy points per minute, but I mean it's hard to look too much into that because it's a small sample. I mean, it's really only a 3-game sample. He did play in obviously 4 games, but one of those games he only played like 7 minutes. His production so far in this series has been really strong in the games he's played full minutes. This is a game where I think we can project him for full minutes, barring some random blowout or foul trouble, which hopefully doesn't happen. And if we get 40 or 42, around that mark from Butler here in terms of minutes, I think we got a pretty good chance at 41 fantasy score. And for those of you that can't take fantasy score, if you're looking for an alternative prop to fantasy score, I do like Butler for more than 32.5 PRA. I think that's totally fine alternative. I would think if Butler goes over this fantasy score line, he probably goes over PRA as well. If you look at his last 5, he's gone over PRA. In all the games where he's went over fantasy, he has also went over PRA. So I think PRA is the best alternative if you're not going to take fantasy score. But if you have access to fantasy score, I definitely like that the most on Butler because, again, Butler can get steals and blocks, which for fantasy score, obviously those are super important. But then the other prop that I like on the other side, the Rockets side, we're going to take Amen Thompson for more than 33 fantasy score. So Amen Thompson in this series is only over this line in 2 out of 5 games. And obviously, the 2 games he went over were the last 2 games. So far in this series, he's been producing at close to his normal averages. Now, obviously, last game he had a huge game, which definitely spiked up his kind of per minute production. But like in game 1 of this series, he had 31.8 fantasy points. And in that game, he did play 33 minutes, which is definitely a little bit less than I would have expected for Thompson. I typically think we can expect him to play about 35, 36 minutes. I mean, during the regular season, when he was starting, Amen Thompson was playing like 36, 38 minutes a night during the regular season when he was a starter. Now in the playoffs, I mean, you would think he's probably playing like 35, 36 minutes here. Played 33 minutes in game 1, then only played 23 minutes in game 2. I think, if I remember correctly, he got into foul trouble game 2. He did have 3 fouls, and I guess I could actually check that real quick just to see when he got those fouls, because if those fouls did come early, then obviously that could have been a reason why his minutes got cut down. So it looks like he did pick up 2 fouls in the first quarter, and then he picked up his 3rd foul in the first quarter as well. They subbed him back in, and he picked up his 3rd foul. So he didn't play the entire second quarter in game 2, so that's why his minutes were down, was because of foul trouble. And then in game 3, 27.4 fantasy points, did play 37 minutes in that game, so the minutes were back up. Obviously, the production wasn't great, but the minutes were way up. And then in game 4, minutes were solid again, 31 minutes. And then last game, 35 minutes. Would have played more than 35 minutes. The Rockets, they wound up subbing out their starters last game because obviously the game was looking like a blowout. And then the Warriors bench guys started making a comeback, so the Rockets actually subbed their starters back into the game. But had, obviously the game not been a blowout, I mean, Thompson probably would have played closer to 40 minutes last game. He was playing incredibly well. He's been playing incredibly well as of late. And this is a player that throughout his career has been a pretty good fantasy producer. He's another guy kind of similar to Jimmy Butler. He can just do everything when he's on the floor. He can score around the rim. He can rebound. He can get assists. He's another guy that's also really good at getting defensive stats. Last game, he had 5 steals and 3 blocks. And obviously those defensive stats, again, they add up for fantasy. Like if you get guys that can get you a couple steals, a couple blocks, that just makes them so valuable for fantasy score when they can get those defensive stats. And even if he doesn't get defensive stats, Thompson can still rebound really well. He can still get assists. And his scoring has been up the last few games. 17 points in game 4, had 25 points last game. Thompson, not known as a aggressive scorer. Like he's a guy that doesn't really have much of a jump shot. Him and Asar Thompson, his brother, they kind of have similar games where a lot of their scoring is from their teammates setting them up, whether that's from cutting to the basket, getting alley-oops, maybe getting putbacks, offensive rebounds. Like that's kind of where they get their scoring. But we've seen Asar's scoring, kind of spike lately. His offensive game has been kind of trending up in the right direction. The minutes are also trending up as well. And I think in a must-win game here for the Rockets, I mean, Amen Thompson's probably playing 35, 36 minutes as long as he avoids foul trouble. They're going to want him out there to guard Steph Curry. I mean, he's the best. The Rockets have a lot of good defenders, but he's probably their best defender to guard Steph Curry. So I expect the minutes to be there for Amen in a must-win game. And I think another thing that's benefiting Amen Thompson right now is that the Rockets have really been cutting down the minutes on Jalen Green. Jalen Green's production has just kind of been up and down lately. Now, last game, Jalen Green did play a little bit better. Still only played 28 minutes, but if Jalen Green's kind of on thin ice right now, and if Jalen Green comes out and just doesn't play well, that's just going to make Amen Thompson's minutes even more secure if they opt to not close with Jalen Green. And honestly, if Jalen Green's not out there in the closing minutes, that's good for Amen Thompson because Jalen Green, he's a really high usage player. He's a guy that soaks up a lot of usage when he's on the court. Taking him off the court opens up more usage for all these other guys. So seeing the minutes be trending down for Jalen Green, I think makes the minutes more secure for a lot of these other guys. Amen Thompson being one of those guys. And 33 fantasy score for a guy who probably plays 35, 36 minutes, averages well over a fantasy point per minute. I like this play on Amen Thompson. We're going to take him for more than 33 fantasy score. And again, if you're looking for an alternative to fantasy score for Amen Thompson, I think I would be looking to the PRA category once again here. 24.5 PRA, I'm totally fine with. You look at Amen in this series, he's over this line in 2 out of 5 games. The last 2 games, obviously, was when he went over. Same thing with PRA. If he goes over fantasy score, he probably goes over PRA as well. But there are scenarios where he doesn't go over PRA, but still goes over fantasy if he gets like 5 steals and 3 blocks again like he got last game. Obviously not expecting that, but it's at least a possibility because he's that type of player. But again, if you have access to fantasy score, I would play that first. If you don't have access to fantasy score, I'm totally fine taking Amen Thompson for more than 24.5 PRA. But these are the 2 props, guys, that we're going to roll with for this Friday night game. Game 6 between Warriors and Rockets. Taking Jimmy Butler for more than 41 fantasy score and Amen Thompson for more than 33 fantasy score. We've been on a frustrating stretch lately, man. Been a lot of losses lately. Not been doing well. Picks have not been doing well. I take full accountability, full responsibility. Obviously, it's my job to give you guys the plays. we're not going to win every single day, and I know that, but we've definitely been losing a lot more than I would like. I would like to be losing, but we're going to keep pushing through, guys. I'm still going to give you guys the plays that I like, taking a first look at the board, and hopefully, we'll start to see some more wins come through here soon, because it's been a lot of losses lately, unfortunately. But yeah, that's what I got, guys, for Friday night. Let's see if we can go 2-0 here on these two plays. Appreciate your guys' support, and appreciate you guys watching these Prizepicks videos as always. Make sure that you hit that like button down below. If you did enjoy, hit that subscribe button as well. And again, guys, if you don't have an account on Prizepicks, make sure that you go sign up for Prizepicks and use promo code NOAH. So that way, when you play $5, you'll get $50 in promo funds instantly added to your account. Check out Prizepicks if you have not yet. But good luck as always. Let's win some money tonight, guys. I'll see you in the next video.